Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TESU's MLK Day, The Power of Service, Insights from Nonprofit CEOs. My name is Alicia Pendleton. I am one of the co-chairs for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for 25-26. Each year, Thomas Edison State University honors Martin Luther King Jr. Day with reflections and dialogue on his enduring legacy. Today, on Dr. King's birthday, we're proud to host a panel of local nonprofit CEOs to spark ideas and inspire action, working together to strengthen and advance our communities. We're pleased to welcome Dr. Merodie A. Hancock, TESU's president and leading voice in online higher education, whose commitment to community service and innovation continues to create real impact. I would like to welcome Dr. Hancock.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out today. I know we had a little bit of a question mark about the weather, but glad it behaved for us. So today we're going to continue on with the theme that we've gotten into with discussions. That's been the feedback we've heard from everybody, that community discussions are really where people get excited. As we've done before, we're going to say if you have a question for the panelists, please stand up and we'll get it asked, because we do want this to be a very interactive dialogue. As we celebrate, Martin Luther King Jr. would be 97 today, and I know that because he was born in 1929, which is the same year as my father. And I think about that quite a bit, because I was born, I don't do the math on this, but I was born in 1965. So that meant I came in as a Voting Rights Act child. And just how different those worlds were from father to daughter, and how just the things that we experience and what we accept. And obviously, I think, the march continues, I will say. I'll go back to my Selma Montgomery, kind of, since I'm doing a Voter Rights Act analogy. The march certainly continues. But today, what we want to discuss a bit is we've got 4 leaders here who are some of my favorite people in Trenton, who are making their way, along with their teams, to keep bettering our community and making our community more resilient. And it really does emulate Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy in so many ways. So I'm going to start off, first of all, just introduce people, and then I'm going to go into a series of short elevator trips where I've told them we're just going to go up and down with a lot of elevator speeches to start with, and then we're going to get into dialogue. So starting SANDRA TOUSSAINT, who is the president and CEO of United Way of Greater Mercer County, and Michael Toscani, wherever he is, has been, Michael Mancini, but Michael Toscani is my favorite person, and my board chair. But, Michael Mancini has been a proud member of the United Way board for several years. We've got Sean Jackson, who's the Chief Executive Officer of ISLES. I think a lot of us have experienced things over at their nonprofit center that we've been to a lot of fun events. Our favorite, Janine LaRue, likes to house up there and do a lot of her work out of there. Then we've got Reggie Coleman, who is on my right, President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Mercer County, where I am a proud board member. And BRYAN Evans is the Chief Executive Officer of the Father Center of New Jersey, who has been on a pretty big PR campaign. So we're seeing a lot more of you guys. So we're going to do round robin just a couple times real fast, and then get into open dialogue. First thing I'm going to ask, so you just got in the elevator. You have about 3 or 4 floors, so about 90 seconds. Tell me a little bit about your organization. Let's start with you, Sandra.
Sure. First, I want to say good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for having me. I would say I have a privilege to lead an organization that sits with the intersection of people, purpose, and possibility. So when you think of United Way of Greater Mercer County, you can think of us as a convener, you can think of us as a community power builder, and certainly a catalyst. And specifically, there are complex issues, complex problems facing the community, which is only growing. And what we recognize is that it's going to take more than one organization to address these issues and to come up with solutions. So that's what United Way is all about. We work with all aspects of the community, so that's government, schools, academic institutions, civic leaders, volunteers, really looking at what we can do to make the community stronger, what we can do to make the community thrive. And lastly, I want to say that our mission, what we're laser focused on, we are here to unite people and resources to build a stronger and much more connected community. Our mission is simple and certainly needed now more than ever.
Reggie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honored to be here today. Reggie Coleman, President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Mercer County. We're the only club in Mercer County, one of 21 in New Jersey and part of a national organization. Our mission is to inspire all youth, but especially those that need us most here in our greater Trenton community, to realize their full potential to become positive and productive citizens. And we do that through an array of programming. I joke all the time that we're not the gym and swim club you think we used to be. There's a lot of programming from STEM to health, nutrition, healthy lifestyles, education, tutoring. I call us the Walmart of youth development almost. Any kid that walk through those blue doors, there's an opportunity for them. And we make that happen with well over 100 staff, 500 volunteers a year. We have 22 board members to make that mission possible. So a little bit about the club.
Brian and the Father Center.
Hello. Yes, so the Father Center, our mission at the Father Center is really to empower every father to positively impact his children and families socially, emotionally, and economically. And so we do that by supporting men and boys in gaining the skills to meet the responsibilities of fatherhood and to prepare for the responsibilities of fatherhood. We've been around since 1859. So I say I age very well. But, you know, we started as an orphanage right here in Trenton. And over the past 30 plus years have really been focused on leveraging fatherhood programming to change the lives of children and families. We have locations in Trenton, Camden, Burlington, West Hampton, and we're looking to expand into Essex County as well.
Thanks, and thank you, Dr. Hancock, for this chance to be with you and this great group and all of you today. My name is Sean Jackson. I'm the CEO at Isles. We've been working here in the city of Trenton since 1981, and our focus is on creating a healthy environment for everyone to be able to thrive and grow. So what's that mean? We're focused on job training and education, how we can help people build the skills they need, the skills that they identify, what they want to do. You know, we have young people who come to us and we sit down and we say, what would you like to go be? Whether it's a welder or a nurse or a physician or a professor. We want to help those folks on that journey. But we recognize that part of getting on that journey and being successful on it is living in a healthy and sustainable community. But we know that the home where you live needs to be healthy, lead-free. We're very active in the issue around lead paint contamination and believe that is one of the major impacts on families and children across New Jersey, but particularly in older communities like Trenton that have an aging housing stock. How do we make sure that the house is warm enough? And now we have to worry about being cool enough in the summer. How do we make sure that their neighborhood is safe and that you can walk the streets and feel secure? So we work on all of these issues from having community-based violence interruption workers who work across the city and help in conjunction with the police to fight crime, to cleaning out homes and getting them to be lead-free and energy efficient, to how do we help people organize and grow fresh food. We have dozens of gardens across the city and 250 families that are growing their own fruit and vegetables that they plant and they tend to and they harvest so that they can have a chance to overcome some of the healthy eating challenges that we face in the city. So we look at all those things and then look at how do we then help you with the training and education you need so that you can thrive. And I've been proud to work with a number of these agencies across the city and folks across the city to make a difference, and glad to be a part of the conversation today.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put you back in the elevator because you just went up 4 floors. So now you're going to come back down. You kind of covered a little bit, but if you now, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. just joined you in the elevator, and you've got 4 floors to tell him to brag about one thing of how you think your organization or something broader that you see happening in the world today is that extension of his legacy. So I don't know who wants to start on that one. All right.
I could start. I had the advantage of you mentioning this before when we were gathering, so I give it a little thought. Give my colleagues a chance to. At the end of his life, in the last day, Dr. King was in Memphis with the Poor People's Campaign, and the focus was around how for working with the maintenance workers and the folks who collect refuse in the city, and ensuring that they got a fair wage and the ability to leave. And that economic empowerment was a part that has always stuck with me about where, especially Dr. King had ended up at the end of his life. One of the things that we do is support families with financial education, budget training, and how to get people on a path to buying their first home and to do so successfully. But I will tell you the thing that we find, right, is there are a lot of great programs out there to help in that process. But fundamentally, what we come back to so often with people who come to us and want to buy that first home is they can get down payment assistance, they can get assistance with closing costs, they can get help with the appraisal, but fundamentally so many people have an underlying challenge of they just can't afford to buy that house because they can't make the monthly payments. And we don't want to put people into homes where they're going to then potentially lose their investment because the boiler blows and they can't repair it and they have to leave. And so we work on that. And so my point to Dr. King would be recognizing the importance of training and education for everybody and making sure it is successful. We know we run 2 blocks away, we run a high school dropout to diploma program. 85% of our students graduate. They've often been dropped out 2 or 3 times, but they come to us with 3rd and 4th grade reading levels. So it's how do we get them the skills they need and be on the path and the journey to self-determination and success that they want to have. And we're proud to be a part of making that happen.
I think he would like that elevator ride. Let's see.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Pardon me.
It's all good. It's all good. For me, I would, first of all, try not to be like starstruck being on the elevator with Dr. King, right? So that's number one. Number 2, Dr. King had an aspiration and a vision for beloved community. So beloved community includes or encompasses things like justice, equity, safety and security, and certainly prosperity. So if I had the privilege to talk to Dr. King, I would let him know that we put into practice that vision every day. That is the work of United Way of Greater Mercer County. For us, we're laser focused on equity and access. So you could have the greatest program, you can have potential for impact, but if no one can get to it, no one can access it, whether it's because of transportation, language, hours of operation, then is it really making an impact in building strong families and a thriving community? And an example of our work, we focus, we believe that discretionary income is vital, right? And so when you have discretionary income, that tends to impact the choices you make around health, nutrition, certainly where you live, schooling, and so forth. So one of the ways that we help in this area is during tax season. So we are in January. This is the time to start getting your paperwork together for taxes. So United Way, again, because we are a convener, we work with all sectors of the community. We partner with the IRS. We partner with businesses both small and large, roughly 70 to 80 volunteers from various backgrounds to prepare taxes for individuals and families with a household income of $65,000 or less. So think about that. New Jersey, for example, is one of the most expensive states in the country. When you're talking about a household income of $65,000 or less, you mentioned affordability, right? There's only so much that you can do with that. So what we do is, instead of you going to a paid preparer, which we'll name unknown, right? We do your taxes for free. But it's not just about coming to do your taxes. Most of the folks that we see get a tax refund. So when they get their refund, they're not going to Disney World. They're not buying a flat screen TV. They're putting that back into the Mercer County economy. They're paying down their debt, their savings for the future. They're doing repairs to their car or looking into housing and so forth, right? But they're coming to us to get their taxes done. While we have a captivated audience, we say, what else do you need? Do you need financial education? Do you need coaching? Are your kids getting ready to go to college? Are you able to navigate that process, right? Have you filled out your FAFSA form? Where are you looking? Are you thinking about trade schools, vocations, and so forth? Do you need health insurance? And that's what United Way does, right? And that's what I would tell Dr. King. I hear you. I take seriously the vision that you have. It hits home for me personally. And certainly that's that passion, that energy, and that's the enthusiasm that I bring into the work each and every day. And from board members all the way down to staff and volunteers and all that we work with, they see how can they come together to really make the community stronger and prosperous.
All right. You sure, Reggie? I can. Okay. All right. So I take a bit of a different approach to this. If I had an opportunity to being in an elevator with Dr. King for 4 flights up, I would want to hear from him. I'd want to listen to him. I'd want to get his perspective on, well, you know, what is the best way that we should be approaching our social economic development for our men, and what are the words that you would use? Because Dr. King was all about the words, and his words had a extreme impact on communities that we serve. And so I would want to hear from him. I'd want to be inspired from him. But I would say to him that your legacy lives on, you know, not only through the marches, not only through the peaceful protests, but also in a lot of the unseen work that happens in the background with many of the nonprofits, the Father Center, Boys and Girls Club, ISLES, and others. And, you know, because of your legacy, our mission is what it is. And that's what I would say.
I don't think I'd want to go last. This is like it's going out.
Yeah, right? I was thinking about it, and I think if I was on the elevator with Dr. King, I would probably say, hey, Uncle Martin. Because when I was growing up, like a lot of households in cities around the country, my grandmother, I spent a lot of time in her home, and all our family members' pictures were on a room divider, and Dr. Martin Luther King picture was in a frame. So when I was a little kid, I always thought he was a family member until I got old enough to know. But if I was on the elevator with him, I would first thank him for all his sacrifice and the work he's put in to allow us to do what we do today. And then I would probably just go on to talk about some of the great things we've done, you know, through his legacy. I think one of the things I'm proud of that we've done is the club is a place where I always say, and our mission for years have been youth, K to 12. A lot of the kids we see, especially high school kids, they're kind of the voiceless. They're kind of invisible in school, but at the club, they're somebody. And one of the greatest things we do is give them a sense of belonging and to make them feel valued kids come to the club in 9th, 10th grade with no dreams, and they leave with not only dreams, but with plans. So I would brag about that. I would talk about how we've navigated everything that goes on around us. And we started out as, recreation after-school programs and summer camps, and now we're doing job training programs. Now we're partnering with other nonprofits and feeding the hungry and having food pantries and giving single mothers free diapers for new parents and things like that. So I would just talk about how we have continued to evolve and to be relevant to our families here in the community.
All right, so one of the common themes that's been spoken about here is it's so easy to have good intentions, and it's so easy to try and do the right thing. But when we're really dealing with disenfranchised populations and people who, there's so many moving parts in them, in their environment, how do you work to mobilize, to empower folks when, I think about it the simplest time. They say when they do the food drives, people give boxes of cake, but there's no eggs, there's no oil, there's no anything to actually make the cake. So the food pantries end up with a lot of cake mix, but they can't actually make it happen. And I heard that kind of theme through a lot of the conversations. Like, you can get them so far. You can get them into the house, but if the boiler breaks, you can get them some food. And I think about United Way has an Alice, for those of you. It's really kind of a really cool national model, and I use it. Folks have heard me talk about it with Thomas Edison, because in some ways it's the people we help. And Alice stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained Employed, if I have it right. And it came out of the actually when I was on the United Way in New York, we were trying to model that. And it came out of New Jersey, but it's a little bit of the Thomas Edison students that we serve. Like, they can go one of two ways. If they're empowered, they can go one way. But in our own world, one of the things, and I know our development folks know, I'm always after people to give us gifts for grants, not loans, because a little bit of that, when they graduate, they don't need to have to pay back a loan, because they're at that $65,000 threshold. They need to just be free and clear to benefit from their degree. But I think about all the moving pieces. So how do you're working with somebody, or you're working with a community, and it feels like there's so many parts and so many pieces. So if you're trying to get that father, so I'm going to turn and start with you this time. You're working with that father, but there's so many things working against them.
Yeah, no, that's a great, so a lot of the participants that we serve, and I got to mention Ed Bullock, is a former Platinum Dad of the Father Center, and so is Reggie Coleman. So I want to recognize that, because we do have a Platinum Dads event where we honor fathers in the community for this purpose. But to your point, a lot of the participants that come to us come from, really dark backgrounds. I mean, they've seen crime, violence, and chaos. They come from, they're returning citizens, many of them, and the type of support they need is so much different than the average person. And so we make sure that we approach it from a trauma-informed perspective, but mostly it's really the partnerships around the table. When you say in terms of you can only take them so far, that's why we partner with Boys and Girls Club for our Developing Young Men, Young Leaders program. We have 9th grade academy students that are mentored by Reggie's program. That's why we partner with ISLES and Andre Thomas at ISLES for a demo, who actually leads our young men as well. And of course, SANDRA, TOUSSAINT, United Way, they support us financially as well. So everyone around the table is part of the ecosystem, and that's how we get it solved.
Anybody want to add in?
So it's interesting that you mentioned Alice, right? So for those of you who are numbers, I'll just let you know that's 43% of Mercer County residents. So I'm going to say it again because it's impactful. 43% of Mercer County residents are struggling to make ends meet. The last several months we've been hearing about eggs, we've been hearing about groceries and things of that nature. Alice is only growing, right? And so that 43% is a stat from probably like 2 years ago. I could imagine what it is now. So that's one. Two is, just to echo what was said, it's really about collective impact, right? What is that support system that we can put together to really strengthening? I'm always saying when you have a strong family, you have a thriving community. And the reason why I keep saying that, because it takes more than one organization. The issues that we're dealing with are systemic issues, right? And so we actually have to come together as a community, whether you're working in an institution, whether you're volunteering or financially contributing or part of a faith-based organization, to really help sustain and grow the community, help families move along so they can access these services, right? And these services we know are getting cut, are getting needed much more so now than previously.
Not much for me to add. I would say that you don't get this work done without the collaboration and the collective to make that impact. I think the area for growth is collective results. Like, we do a great job in our community coming together and working together, but we're not always aligned in what those results look like and working together to figure out what that collective impact together looks like. And sometimes we have a different end game. And I think for us to move our communities along, that's an area we can do better.
I'd just add, the name of our organization can be a little confusing at times. I have had people say to me, aisles, like in a movie theater? And I explained to them, the concept of it was that we can create these islands of success. They may be as small as a single household, they may be a block, they may be, a neighborhood. But that as we knit those islands together, you create and grow a community. And that requires partners. That goes beyond the four of us that are sitting here. There's so many important organizations across the city and across the county that play a role here. The other thing, though, I'd say, Dr. Hancock, is there's, in my mind at least, there's two components to this kind of work. There's what we can do at the micro level, which is individuals and organizations working together and trying to impact this life and that family and this community. And then there's the macro, larger effort. We're not here to talk about politics today, but that's ultimately a piece of where everybody in this room and our collective county and larger need to engage and need to care and need to participate in the doing of that work. And that work grows beyond just the work that we all do. It then grows about what we do as a larger society with some of these challenges.
So how do you, one of the things that really impresses me with Mercer County, and I could think, when we were looking at who to have in this panel, there were so many. We could have had Bernie Flynn join us. We could have had, so many other people join in who work together. And everybody's passionate about their mission, but the collective work is what's really strong. But as I think about in Trenton, we don't really have, Thomas Edison is our four-year state institution, and we're a unique institution in that we're online, our employees are hybrid.
And you stayed here.
And we stayed here.
Thank you. Like our other colleges.
We're not going anywhere. We like it here. we feel very comfortable here. But as we think about it, what are ways that you can think of for ways, be it the people in this room, how can people get involved, even if it's starting in, even if it's over a lunch hour? And then I ask the next, how do we also help the next generation fully understand the investment? We have a saying at Thomas Edison, or it's mine, but I give it to all of Thomas Edison, we're all better off when we're all better off. It's just straightforward math. But so how do people get involved? Because you talk about that network, but outside of the organizations working together, how do we get more folks to understand? Because what does surprise me about the stats sometimes, Sandra, is sometimes the people in that 43% are actually some of the most active. And they are the ones who are giving the little bits that they have. So it's creating that world of knowledge and appreciation for what we can do. So I'm open to interesting ideas on how do we help build and grow and celebrate that and have people figure out ways to be involved in little or big ways.
Yeah, so there are many ways to help, not only with your pocketbooks, obviously, but we're always looking for volunteers. We have several programs at the Father Center. One is called Men at the Breakfast Table, where we actually bring in our participants, we feed them, and we always have someone come and speak. And so we're always looking for speakers to come and encourage and motivate our men in various aspects of life. So that's critically important. The other piece is we have a program called Dress to Impress, not to be confused with Dress for Success. All right, all right, so our clothing is for professional attire for men, always looking for suits and jackets and shoes, socks, all that kind of stuff. So if you have stuff that you want to donate, please do so. You can visit our website, thefathercenter.org, and learn more about it. And we say gently used, so gently used. That's what we need, because this is clothing to be used for job interviews and for when they actually get placed. And so those are some key ways you can help. But also, we're always looking for a check. So feel free to send it along.
Anybody?
Similarly, there's several entry points to get involved at the Boys and Girls Club. Obviously, there's the opportunity to work with youth directly, whether that's through programming, mentoring, guest speaking, coming in and talking about your career during career days. We do college and career fairs. We do a STEM conference. But then if, working directly with kids is your thing, we have various committees at the club. If you love to throw parties, and we have an events committee, we have a safety committee. There's all different types of committees at the club. And then if you have a particular skill set, we're always open to bring someone with a particular skill set that our staff may not have, or they may have, to come in and expose it to our youth. One of the biggest things for the club is exposure. Like, so many of our kids don't get the opportunity to see, do, and learn a lot of different things. For example, I remember when I first started at the club, it was A1 Limousine. One of our partner companies sent a charter bus, and we turned right there at the Acura Arena, got on Route 129, and a kid yelled, "Where we going, to California?" And, on another level, I've been on airplanes with kids, high school kids, 17, 18-year-olds, freaking out, crying because they've never, I'm having experiences with these kids that their parents haven't had. So again, those different opportunities that we bring our kids, we partner with science mentors, we partner with colleges, and we partner with different individuals. One of our biggest programs that's run by, our biggest program is our bike exchange. If you've been on Olden Avenue, the Capitol Plaza, we have a bike exchange there. It's totally run by volunteers. It's about 50 volunteers who open this bike shop 3 days a week, and it brings in over $200,000 of revenue to support what we do and to give scholarships to kids. So that's one way. And then on a smaller level, there's people who come in, volunteers who love chess. And now we have so many kids in the club playing chess. That wasn't a program that we did, but it was an opportunity. And we all know chess is a great game to learn, to get kids thinking. So there's various ways, and volunteers are so important that we now have a full-time volunteer director because we have over 500 volunteers a year. And if you're scared to come along, you can come with your sorority, fraternity, your company, your business. We have...
I'll take you.
That's one of the biggest things we do is these corporate days of caring, whether it's in the club with kids or going to our bike exchange and repairing bikes. And we'll always give you a tour and feed you. So our doors hang on welcome hinges.
And if you want to buy an e-bike, Princeton e-bike, all profits go to the Boys and Girls Club too.
So similarly for our work, the call to action is give, advocate, volunteer, right? And we have a number of opportunities in a number of areas, from education, I mentioned taxes, to health and so forth. But I'm going to answer the question a little differently, because I think what's needed now more so is awareness building. There's a lot of great organizations, there are a lot of resources that's out there, but word of mouth, social media, we need to get the word out that there are opportunities for the community, from young to well-seasoned and experienced, right, to tap into. A real challenge for us, I keep going back to access and equity, right? Not everybody can go to an organization. They can just walk into an organization and ask for help, right? How do they get that information, right? If you have gig workers or somebody who's holding down 2 or 3 jobs, right? They're told to go to an agency. The agency hours is from 9 to 5, right? They're shut out in accessing services, right? And so all of us can really play a role in awareness building. If you hear of a resource, please help spread the word, right? And there's a number of organizations out there you can certainly do that for. Your time is important, and certainly, you know, we appreciate financial contributions, as you hear from all of us. But I can't emphasize that enough, right? Just getting the information out in a number of ways in the hands of people who really need it.
Dr. Hancock, I take a little different perspective, in part because I'm the only participant in the panel here who's white. And I think of Dr. King's letter from Birmingham jail, and he talked about the biggest challenge that he faced wasn't the conservative, it was the moderate white liberal, and the willingness to engage in a meaningful way. I don't know which side of that I would fall into. I probably fall more into the side that he was concerned about than not, if I'm going to be honest. I raise that because I think part of what's important to do here as a community, as we look at the folks in this room, and it's part of the reason I got involved with Isles as a resident of Hopewell, is we need to get people outside the city to give a damn about what's happening inside the city. And we need everybody to get in that boat. Dr. King had another great line, which was, we may have come here in different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And there are too many, in my opinion, having served in local government before, and listened to discussions that go on about the challenges that are Trenton-based, and there was always, I frequently heard, I won't say always, but frequently heard, how do we keep Trenton in Trenton, right? What we need of Mercer County, what we need of all of our communities across the state is people to give a damn about these communities that are facing remarkable challenges, under-resourced, and in need of folks who just come and care. And that may be working with one of our organizations. We have volunteers. If you want to come tutor, come tutor. If you want to help in our gardens, come help us in our gardens. You want to come serve on our board? I see our former board president, Willard, stand back here. Serve on our board. But come and do something in the city. Maybe it's just coming to the symphony and going out to dinner. But then you're being present and you're contributing to the economy of the city. Find what passion is. I met with a fellow 2 weeks ago who wants to help young people get braces. His view was that was an important part of the sort of a person's presentation and your appearance. And then when you walk into a job interview or something like that, that can be a little nod one way or the other. And that was his passion. I don't know what your passion is or yours, but find your piece of passion that will bring you to engage in making a difference in the city.
So I was going to ask this question anyways, and I was debating whether to ask it, but now I'm going to, because I think you just set it up. Okay, we're back in the elevator. I don't remember if we're at the ground floor or at the 4th floor, but we're back in the elevator. It is Martin Luther King Day. It's the 19th, the day before inauguration. Mikey Sherrill steps in the elevator with you. You now have 4 floors to give her some advice and give a damn about Trenton. What do you say? Open for anybody. We are recording it, though, so.
Well, I'll start with, you should have had the inauguration in Trenton.
All right.
This is the capital, and I say that because I think a thing that's important to be said, New Brunswick, Newark, Jersey City, they've gotten a lot of state resources over the last 10 and 20 years. We've got a performing arts center in Newark. We've got the hockey arena, which is already built, and they're already putting $300 million more into it. That's great. I want Newark to thrive. I worked in Newark for 6 years. It's a community that has its challenges, needs help. But care about this city. Think about Patterson. Think about Trenton. Think about Atlantic City. Think about Camden. Those are cities that are not as resourced as the rest of the state. Come here and find what we can do. In the state's defense, the city's got to be prepared to access those programs and put projects in front of them. It's a two-way street, but we need someone to pay attention.
So I want to echo that. I thought you said we weren't going to get political. So.
This is friendly advice to an incoming governor.
So, you know, I was actually the former chair of the Trenton Downtown Association. So was Willard, by the way. So we share this common vision that, you know, this capital city is, it's not what it used to be. And, you know, we need leadership in the city. We need someone to spend time in the city as an example. And so we need you here. We need you here. That would be my first piece of advice. Secondly, I would say that, you know, as the state capital, as Sean mentioned, you know, we should be getting a whole lot more resources than we have been, and a whole lot more support. And you look at other capitals, capital cities across the country, and, you know, they get support. We don't. Why is that? And so it would be a question I would pose to her.
49th out of 50.
49th out of 50. So I think we moved up, you know, once. But yeah, so yeah, I echo Sean's statements, and we all feel the same way, is that this capital city has so much potential, and we just need strong leadership.
And for folks, in a couple weeks, we're going to have the mayor here, and you will probably hear one of his big comments are when people are talking about resources at Trenton, one of the big issues that happens, and we're on the guilty side of this if you're looking at it, actually everybody in this room is on the guilty side of this if you're looking at it from that side, is so much of Trenton either belongs to God, education, the hospital, or government. None of those pay taxes. So their tax base, they have very, very little in tax base that is paying toward taxes, which is why if you're not kind of in that field, that's why capital cities need extra money. It's not because they're complaining. It's not because, you know, they're not doing their own. It's because they just don't have the same tax base. Tremendous amount, and I can't remember what the ratio, but the mayor would be able to tell you when he comes in a couple weeks, the tremendous amount of our property is not taxed because it's either tax-free, it's a church, it's an education institution, it's owned by the government. Remember, here we have state, city, and county government. So just a little background, when you hear these remarks, that's a bit of where we really, really are just behind the power curve to start. So, okay, Mikey's in the elevator with you.
So, ladies first or no?
You're gonna call her Auntie Mikey?
So if I was on the elevator with Auntie Mikey, I echo what you both said, but I would probably be a little biased and talk about the importance of child care and all the child care subsidies that are getting cut. We're serving over 600 youth every day. There's probably a third of those families that get state subsidies to get their child care paid for. And recently with the new administration, there's just been cuts in Washington, but also coming down to New Jersey. A lot of our kids get what they call Child Care Connection, which is the nonprofit entity that passes those dollars along. And you know, parents are gonna, you know, they're single parents, single female-driven homes, and they're going to have to make decisions on, do I go to work or do I stay home with my kid? And that's not moving our communities along. So I would just stress the importance of that.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. What I would add is we're living in a time now that people have lost faith and trust in institutions. And this is growing. And so my advice would be, you know, as decisions are being made, you need to put a face to that. So I would encourage Mikey to come down, get to know the people in your community, get to know the people who are being impacted by these decisions. Let them be part of the conversation, let them be part of the discussion. I would also add, transparency goes a long way in building trust, right? And you have to put things in terms that people could understand, that they could relate to. So that would be my advice to Mikey. If you really want to focus on, you know, making New Jersey stronger, look at all aspects of New Jersey. New Jersey is one of the most diverse states in the country. Are you keeping equity in the center of those conversations and those decisions? That's what I would say to Mikey.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I have a couple more questions I can ask, but first I want to put it out. Jazz? And Jazz is head of our student success, so he deals with a lot of the same issues that we deal with. How are we open? How are we available? How do we make ourselves?
So in this environment with so much uncertainty, both within so many different environments, how are you maintaining your mental health and the mental health of the people that are supporting you in this environment?
Great question.
That is a great question. I think for us, over the last couple years, we talk a lot about our kids' social, emotional, but we invest a lot of time and energy making sure our staff are okay, bringing in folks, having conversations within the bigger group, and that's also our leadership teams and things like that. What can we do to better support our staff? Because many of our staff are those same families that's in our community. And how can we support their kids and not support them, which is why we've expanded our services a bit, because you can't make that true impact unless you're supporting the family as a whole. We sent about five staff to Newark last year, coming out of the pandemic, actually 2 years ago, to make our club a trauma-informed club, and just learning how we can better service our families and our staff, and even our volunteers. But what we learned is we can't do it all. In our strategic plan, over the next 3 years, there is a plan to have someone on site that may start off as a volunteer or part-time worker and grow from that as we move forward, fundraising and getting support for that position. Currently, we utilize our partners and call in other resources for that support, because we just don't have the bandwidth to do it on our own. So I would say we talk about it, we think about it, and we're just trying to do it at a higher level, where I got to admit, before we didn't talk much about it, but it's a regular conversation now.
I'd say I mentioned before the macro and the micro, right? And so when the macro, larger world is really crowding in on our ability at the micro level to do things, we really feel it. And so we have, over the last year, we have a AmeriCorps program, we lost half of our staff, and we still don't know if we're going to have them this year or not, because the Congress still hasn't passed a budget on that. It creates anxiety amongst our staff. More than half of our staff are Trenton-based, folks who, you know, had challenges on employment in the long run, and we're a decent job with benefits and people read the papers and they're nervous. Are we going to lose our job? And we tell folks we're doing the best we can to keep everybody on our team going forward, but that the real critical thing for us to remember is the lives that we're touching each day. And whatever happens up here and out there, we can still make a difference with every one of those students at our school, the neighborhoods we're walking, the houses that we're improving, the gardens that we're helping making happen. We still are making impact every day. Our micro might have gotten a little more micro, frankly, but we're still touching lives every day. And that's what motivates us to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I would say at the Father Center of New Jersey, I echo all of the statements. We have really been focused on, with our strategic plan, is finding ways to diversify our revenue streams so that we can better support our staff with varying needs, income increases, bonuses, and things like that, that unfortunately grants don't necessarily pay for, particularly if they're not unrestricted. And so for us, you know, we have really been focusing on that. We've been focusing on trauma support, but also we've been focusing on leadership. And us, we don't want to get burned out, right? And so, because if we get burned out, the mission fails. And so, you know, we, you know, started a little CEO exchange. We continue to work on that. But, you know, we got to take care of ourselves too, as well as our staff. And so that's critically important. And so we're working on ways to do that.
So again, ditto for everything. The one thing I would add is the whole notion of mental health. We make it part of our culture. And specifically when we're talking about staff, this is a short word with 3 letters, F-U-N. How do you make your workday fun, right? As a kid, you look for things that's enjoyable. So this is what we encourage staff members. Every team meeting, believe it or not, this may sound a little cheesy. You know the game of Shazam or Name That Tune? We actually do that. We take turns and someone introduces a song, right, from whatever genre, and staff members guess. Whoever gets the name, the title, and the artist, they win bragging rights. What that does, it builds a bond with staff members because songs are being introduced in all categories. So when you're talking about camaraderie, when you're talking about intergenerational, right, that is happening. But we do that, or we started doing that just to bring fun, a little lightness into the day. And again, we all know this, but we have to practice what we preach in terms of being balanced, right? You need to, you know, turn off that social media, NPR, whatever it is, right? You need to have that balance because it can be too much. And this is something that we exercise. Not only do I say to my staff, but also for myself as well.
All right, we have a board member who's been a board member for all of about 24 hours. Dr. Kempton has a question.
Good afternoon. It's a wonderful panel. Thank you all so much for participating here today. My question is a common thread through all of your organizations is children. And I want to know, how do you interface with the schools in Trenton and the teachers and get people involved that will be able to support you in different ways? Thank you.
I guess I'll take that as the Boys and Girls Club. We're serving 29 schools throughout the county every day. We're housed in about 7 of them, and 3 in Ewing and 7 in Trenton. And you know, when we go in, we're kind of selling the part, like we're not a babysitting service. We want to come support what you're doing during the day after school, and we're teaching kids kind of through the back door. Like, we make them think they're having fun. But you know, sometimes you might remember with your own kids or from your own experiences, after school program might have consisted of the cafeteria and the gymnasium. When we go into a school, we're asking, our motto is 60 to 100 kids. We're asking for 4 classrooms, the gymnasium, like we're not putting everybody in the gym to do homework. We also try to get the school's buy-in. So if we have 10 staff, I'm trying to get 5 school staff to work for us after school as a part-time job, and then what we call 5 club professionals. That way, it's a buy-in from all of us. It's just not you or them. It's us. We're in this together. And Mr. Bullock, we talk about reading literacy and Lexia. We were just talking today. We're both our organizations are trying to get reading levels up. I'm proud to say within 2 years, we're getting our kids in a district where the average kid might be 1.5 years behind in reading, on reading level within 2 years. So that's something we're proud of. That's something we go in kind of waving our flag and kind of tell them we're not a babysitting service. We're just not a recreation program. We have great partnerships. When they hear we have Students to Science coming in and Rutgers 4-H coming in, and we got the colleges and universities partnering with us. We got a 21st Century grant behind us that gives $500,000 a year to support the program so your kids don't have to pay a tuition for after school. It makes it a little easier for us, not that there's no hiccups and challenges, but that's kind of the starting point. And I will say, we talked about funding and other obstacles and what's going on in the world. We could be in more schools if we had the bandwidth. But we're sticking to quality over quantity. We want to do both, and we try to do both. And in our new strategic plan, as Dr. Hancock knows, there is a growth plan to serve another 15% over the next 3 years for 45% more kids, and serving over 2,000 kids a year through these programs. So it's important. I think some principals get it, some don't. And excited that we have a second meeting with the Trenton superintendent next week to talk about these plans and what we plan to do.
And just on that, I know our superintendent came in and his North Star was reading. And he's been so clear about that from the start, that reading has to be the foundation. And so it's great, when you get that alignment of people saying reading is going to be something we're going to focus on. It's not just sit and be a babysitter after school. So.
And I think we got the superintendent's buy-in, but he's so in tune with this that he knows it's more than just him. He has me and my team speaking at the principals meetings next week that they all come to. So every school in Trenton knows what we're doing.
Other?
Yeah, so we, at the Father Center of New Jersey, we work primarily with Trenton's 9th Grade Academy. It was a program that was formerly Healthy Relationships, Healthy Choices, and we rebranded it to Developing Young Men, Young Leaders. We work closely with REGGIE and Boys and Girls Club, but this program is really designed to help build young leaders, to give them the skills that they need to make the mistakes that their family members or their friends made. And so it's a really, really impactful program. It actually serves 9th through 12th grade. And then when they graduate from the program, they actually come back to teach the program. And we've had so many success stories that have come out of that. It's both an in-school program and an after-school program. The after-school piece is at our location at 1 West State Street. We look to replicate this in Camden and Burlington as well.
So for us, when we're talking about education, specifically for Trenton, one of the ways that we do this is with Trenton Central High School. So we have college admissions consultants that actually come in. It's one of our programs, College Readiness, to work with high school juniors and seniors, not only in terms of filling out the FAFSA form, right, and figuring out how to pay for college, but how do you sell yourself so you can get into get into college? How do you make the application stand out? So what that looks like is college essay writing workshops, right? And so we do that. So again, part of the fundraising that we do helps cover the cost for these college admissions consultants to go in Trenton Central High School to do these workshops, So if you're a numbers kind of person, last year we serviced over 350 Trenton Central High School students just at that location. We also partner with other community organizations, so we bring that model to other community organizations in the Trenton area and the surrounding area. So that's one. Two is when we're looking at filling the gaps in the community, right? And so we talked about literacy, we talked about high school in terms of college readiness, but there are other services, right? Exposing them to careers. Because we have a relationship, because we are United Way, we have a relationship with businesses, both large and small. We talked about exposure earlier. So we're able to do shadowing, mentoring, prep interviews for whether it's for scholarships or internships and so forth. So we're able to do that. And an extension of that, so it's not just about the student, it's not just about the child, but looking at the whole family unit, right? What are the services? Again, this is what we look at, right? So what are the services that they need, right? And because for us, it's not just about today, it's also about the next generation, right? And so when you're impacting the entire family benefits. And then when the family benefits, that's the extension of the community.
There are a couple of levels where we interface with the Trenton District. First is around safety. Isles leads with an organization here in the city called A Better Way, what's called the Trenton Community Street Teams. And it is a group of 33, 34 Trenton residents that work on countering violence before it happens. And one of the ways we do that is we are present at all the high school facilities every day in the morning and at the end of the day as students are coming and going. We provide what's called safe passage. So kids don't have to worry that they may be walking through a part of the city that they may not be welcome in. We know we still have some gang issues here in the city. So we make sure that for each of those schools, there's a presence before school and after school for that. Second, we are working to reinstitute our urban agriculture program at each of the schools. Before COVID, we had a relationship with each school where we were running a garden and doing a garden program with students and growing vegetables and the like. Between COVID and then the school reorganization, that all kind of got stymied, and so we're now bringing that back in action. I mentioned we have our own school 2 blocks up here on Tucker Street, just over from the Battle Monument. And that's where we work with students for whom traditional high school isn't a good fit. You know, they've probably, I think we've changed the name of Daylight, Twilight, I think it's the new name now, but you know, there's the high school and students, if they drop out, usually there's a good effort to get them back to the high school once. And then if they drop out again, they come usually to what's called Daylight, Twilight over on Hanover Street. Sometimes that doesn't work for them, in which case they may find their way to us. Or we work with young people who have been having some encounters with the law and need to face a choice about structured schooling or going to a facility someplace. So that makes up our cohort. We're working with 40 to 50 students a year there, and we have an 85% graduation rate with young people who have dropped out 2 or 3 times and who come to us with a 3rd or 4th grade reading level typically, and math skills equally challenged. So those are all different ways because we understand the value and the impact of education and its role in ensuring that people are going to be able to achieve what they want to do in life and find that path to success and the like. We've also been working now with this fine institution here, in which we're sitting, Dr. Hancock and her team, to create a leadership institute within this building, working with ISLES around social entrepreneurship and training young people to be involved in their community and in the civic life. Maybe it's some aspect of government and watching what government's doing, or participating in government, or writing about what goes on as a journalist or the like. And so we're proud to partner with the school here to try to develop that aspect of education as well.
All right, I think this wraps up our time. I do want to thank, and I'll turn it back over. I'm sorry, there's one question. We have one more question? Okay. And then I'm going to ask him, you only get 1 floor to answer this question, whatever it is.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kyle. I'm a newer hire in the undergraduate admissions team, and I actually don't have a question. It's just more of I just wanted to thank everybody for being here and for the conversation. I actually have a background in child protective services. I was an investigator for DCPMP here in the state of New Jersey for 5 years, serving in Camden County. So I just really wanted to touch on the fact that these types of dialogues and these conversations are so important to the communities, but even more importantly, I'd like to see more organizations such as yours going out to the different schools and talking to people, the family members, not just individuals at the universities. I grew up in a predominantly white, middle-class community, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge about what many other people were going through and what sacrifices many individuals were making just to be able to put food on the table or to keep a warm home for their children. going into Child Protective Services, I saw many horrible things and things that were out of the family's control. But being able to sit down and really listen to people about what the true root cause of their issues was the most important and beneficial thing that I learned. Offering people assistance for drug problems, paying off people's bills doesn't fix the root issue. We need to sit down and really listen to what is causing people and driving them to have difficulty, so we can help them at the root issues. There's too many people that are just willing to throw solutions at people instead of really sitting down and listening to what the community itself needs. And I think starting with our youth is really going to be the most important thing, because they're the ones that are going to really be able to make impact and continue to spread on that type of togetherness to their classmates, and hopefully that can continue to grow with them as well. Thank you.
And I think that's a great comment on leaving it, because one of the things I think we all learn is everybody in this room is probably some form of a type A person, and you want to get out and you want to fix it and have the answers. And I think what we've heard here is the issues are complex. There's a lot of contingencies. There's a lot of things working. And so, as we enter the world, and I'm not talking to the panel here because you guys are experts, but for those of us who are more lay people in it, being willing to listen and learn and not be set back, because I think one of the things that I know I've come across in my work at the micro level has been, oh, but here's another issue. Oh, but here's another issue. Oh, but here's another issue. And having to say, okay, we just have to keep peeling this onion and working with it. But I think that's an excellent point, because there are so many things that work together to make it challenging. It's not an easy fix. So, I do say, I think, Trenton has its challenges. One of the biggest assets we have is our nonprofit network and the passion and collaborative nature. And I love that the CEOs are starting to, let's support each other some, because you're right, there's got to be days when it's too much. And having somebody who gets it to call is really important. So with that, I think that for me is a bright light. It's something I've really been passionate about within Trenton, how well people work together, and we can always do more, but I can't fathom, the synergies that come from working together and trying to cheerlead each other's efforts and understanding the role it plays. So thank you all. We have cookies and coffee outside, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.